How's it going? My name is Majeed. I'm 33 years old. I'm from London and I live with a condition called Crohn's disease, which ultimately led to me having stoma surgery. And my life is just like navigating, trying to survive in this big, mean world with this condition and live a fruitful and fulfilling life. Having Crohn's disease and a stoma has impacted my life drastically for sure. I got diagnosed when I was 19 and I was in the midst of university. So having a curveball thrown at you like that takes a lot of adapting, especially when, you're 19 and you're trying to figure out how, life in general, right? And then you get diagnosed with this thing, you don't know what it is. And it's just about like navigating two things simultaneously. And it inevitably ends up as a big car crash. Like it's just a big mess, to be honest. But, thankfully, my having to manage to come through that, having the surgery, I definitely have a lot more control of my life now. And I feel like I'm making up for lost time, going through a condition like this or some sort of like life experience like this definitely gives you a bit of a reality check, also kind of emphasizes what's important in life. So I really do focus on like just enjoying myself, laughing, smiling, the small things, taking each day as it comes, and just doing things that I like talking to cameras. In terms of the course of my treatment and what healthcare professionals could have done differently, again, at the time, you're just like consumed in your own little bubble, right? Of like, how do I figure this out? So I'm unsure if anything more different could have been done. Obviously, like the way I experienced healthcare, UCH, shout out my hospital, was obviously the nurses were there to offer like the emotional support and the constant like interactions. And then you have the consultants and the surgeons. And the surgeons, obviously, the robots that just do what they need to do and get out. Then you have the consultants that obviously talk you through things, and then the nurses are there for the emotional support, and all of them play their role. And I think together, it kind of works really well. In terms of what I do differently, again, it's difficult because it's so different now than it was 15 years ago, whatever, when I was diagnosed. So probably not, because everything's led to now, and I'm grateful for the position I'm in now. Ensuring every patient, you understand the way they prefer being communicated to. Obviously, I'm very outgoing, and you can just say things to me, and I absorb it and I accept it. Whereas someone might be a bit more timid or a bit less confident, and so maybe just understanding those and working with their personalities. When it comes to healthcare professionals, for me and my relationship with them, for sure, I have my favorites. And it's kind of sad, because once you get better, you kind of don't see them as much. There was a time where I had three nurses, the three L's. It was Lisa, Lucy, and Lauren. And they were like just jabbing me up, and I'd bake them cakes, and we had so much fun together. I'd always email them. And, there was a time when I was on an infusion, sitting there for like 6 hours, and they'd keep you not entertained. Obviously, they're not like entertainers, but as in you speak with them and they'd make sure you're comfortable. So definitely my nurses, I haven't seen them for a long time. I'm talking a few years. And it's a little bit sad, I'm not gonna lie, when I think about it now, because they played like a massive role in me understanding my condition and coming to terms with it. But definitely those three. And then obviously I've got a few consultants, Dr. McCartney, who has always been just very upfront, which is great because I don't like beating around the bush. Just tell me what the situation is, and then we take it from there. Yeah, there's been many along the journey, of course, and yeah, they're just, it's just nice talking to people on a human level. Crohn's disease and my stoma bag has definitely affected my direction in life, the roles that I do now, because I wouldn't be here without it. I made my first ever YouTube video the night before my surgery because I thought, okay, I'll just talk to this camera and I'll put it on YouTube, and maybe when I'm like 40 years old, I can watch it back and like reminisce and remind myself, be a bit nostalgic. And yeah, so I just made a video and put it out there, and then the subsequent month, sorry, I started making like a little stoma diary about my experience of surgery and like the road to recovery, and those were my first sort of like introductions into like content making and understanding that whole media sphere. And that led on to many more things, and a lot of people watch those videos. Even to this day, people watch them and say nice things about making them, which is obviously great, but it was never my intention. But if people are able to benefit from the experience that I've had, then that's fantastic. And then I realized, yo, I like doing this. I like talking to the camera. I like talking to people. I like being able to connect to people on like an empathetic level, understanding people's emotions and just, learning about people in general. And so, yeah, it just started off a roller coaster. I started doing lots of shoots and I presented on a Nigerian TV show for like a year, a breakfast show, which was on Sky, Ben TV, shout out Ben TV. And then, these all led to like different experiences and like building up a bit of a portfolio. I was making loads of YouTube videos about food that I hadn't eaten before, because obviously with Crohn's disease, you're very limited what you can and can't eat. So after I had my surgery, I felt a lot better. So I started making a lot of videos about eating food, random stuff. I remember having some matcha froyo and I was like, what is this matcha stuff, man? I don't get the hype. I don't get the hype. Regardless. Yeah, and then I worked at Vice for 2 years making podcasts, and that kind of led me down the podcasting route because there's a lot of transferable skills from video making to podcasting. And now I freelance. I work with brands. I make podcasts. I have a few like modeling agents. And yeah, I'm just navigating that space, man. It seems like I'm learning all the time. I'm developing. I'm, upskilling all the time. And yeah, it's never too old to learn a new skill. Inclusivity to me ultimately is, well, for my obviously my personal understanding and what I want it to mean is having people of all backgrounds, abilities, whatever it is, in like decision making positions. That's my understanding. So it's cool having people in front of camera, which is slowly happening now, especially for like the South Asian like demographic. I definitely feel like we're getting left behind in terms of like in front of camera representation. But more so and more importantly to me is like, in order to get more in front, you have to have more behind making the decisions, right? And that's what, if you're disabled, that's whether if you're black, it's like we need people in those positions that can choose the people to be in front of camera. So whether it's in a boardroom, whether it's on behind the scenes of companies, whatever it is, just getting people into those positions that can make the decisions that allow like a wholesome representation. Because again, we rely on these companies to like represent and work for us, but ultimately, if they haven't got any lived experience or understand the nuances of like my life or your life or anyone's life, it's difficult to be able to relate. And it goes back to that question of people asking me about my family and my Crohn's. And of course, they're there to love me and they support me, but they don't really understand what it's about because they haven't been through it. And it's the same thing with this. Like, so if you want true inclusivity, you need to start bringing people into those rooms where they can have a conversation and then educate people. And then we take it from there step by step. Anatome project. I think it's great. I think it's a fantastic project. It's a great initiative. I think, people don't know until they know, right? If you get your information from one source and that source says one particular thing, that's all you're going to know. So I think creating this initiative just to educate people on what's out there, and it's not even that much. It's just other people that look slightly different to you or have a different type of lifestyle. But this is so imperative to that journey to just educating people. And I think it's wonderful. I'm privileged to be a part of it, and I can't wait to see how it unfolds. Everyone has their own timeline. This is one thing I used to struggle with a lot. So when I eventually got better and started living a healthy lifestyle, I was about 27 years old. And a lot of people have their lives kind of set out for them at that age. They have a career that they're, going to go down. They maybe have a partner they're going to marry. They potentially have money saved for a house or whatever it is that they want to save or they're looking towards buying. But I didn't have any of that stuff. And I'd look at other people and be like, wow, man, like my two best friends were doing really well for themselves. And, other people who are younger than me were doing things I wanted to do. And I was like, man, this is not a nice feeling. It's not a nice feeling. And then slowly, as I came to terms with my condition and my journey, I understood that, this is just my path and I need to utilize my experience to get to where I want to be. It made things a lot easier. Don't get me wrong. There's still times where I'm wavering and I'm like, what the hell is going on? But yeah, as soon as you understand that your timeline is not anybody else's timeline, and it's never too late to succeed, whatever that means in your eyes, then I think you're able to like go in the direction you want to go in a little bit smoother for sure. So that's kind of the advice I'd give, man. Don't compare yourself to other people.